on a reduced split for the listings, but it might be 30% or 40%. You're giving away a lot of money on the listing side, and that's where we see most people make their profits.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, again, we're going to see a lot of people say, no, I just do it this way and it works for me. What they're saying is they're settling for less net profit. And they have given up trying to find better people.
And I think the reason they do that is they're either impatient for results, so in their speed to get there, they're willing to compromise.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they're unwilling to work to find the right person for the right system.
Yeah, and I'm not being critical of that. If you're happy with the results, it's okay to do that. We're not going to change what the model says for that, right? The model says this is best practices, right? So then we have operating expenses. Operating expenses is everything else. So we have staff salaries, we have lead generation costs, and notice that across the line, it's about 10% for lead generation, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think one interesting note is with the introduction of something like the ISA, part of your lead generation expenses get shifted over to the salary category, right? Because you're investing in putting your lead generation in the hands of another person. And that has different expenses, different what's the right word, parameters around that you would take into account when analyzing the data.
Yeah. From the first edition to this edition, we see lead gen expense because the salary moved into salaries. And we also have cost of sale that's moved there, right? Because people who are converting the leads are in there too.
Yeah. Notice what's interesting is that after salary and lead generation, Jay, what else actually takes up any amount of money?
That's where the battle's fought.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's lead generation and it's salaries. So let's flip gears and look at that. So if you just looked at expenses, you would see that the cost of sales and salaries. So the cost of sales for a listing specialist and buyer specialist and by the way, staff salaries is going to add up to 75%, almost 76% of all your expenses are going to go to people. Remember the comment I made to Abe and Glenn a second ago when they said, with their clients who are all top producing agent businesses, they're saying 70 to 80% of the time they're dealing with leverage. Duh! That's why you're dealing with it, because that's where the money goes, right? And then you look at lead generation, it's almost 16% of your expenses, 9 to 10% of your gross income, but about 15 to 16% of your expenses. Everything else is what?
Everything else. Yeah.
Everything else, isn't it? So this is really instructive again. You can get all these slides, so don't gloss over too much. We're going to be out of this fast. We just want you to understand that if you don't understand your numbers, you're going to give money away. You're going to misspend money, and then you're not going to be happy about it, and you're not going to be able to get away from it because you're married to how you're doing it. Okay, so let's look at these averages. This is a really instructive conversation. On the far right side, we have best practices for $1 million of GCI, gross commission income, and $2.5 million. And I want you to note that best practices, you could have a 30 to 39 to 40% or higher. We've seen higher percent of net income at the $1 million GCI range, and at the $2.5 million, we've seen 40% or even higher as a best practice. Okay, so what's going on over here? Well, what's going on over here is what we call averages. These are, in effect, very few of them are gold medal winners. I just want you to put that in perspective. It's Olympic time. Come on, give me a break.
The podium's on the right.
The podium's on the right. Now, there's nothing wrong with the left. One of the reasons why you see, let's take the first one. Let's take 350,000 of GCI. So let's just assume for a second that you don't want it to be anymore. That represents 60 home sales or 50 home sales or whatever your average price is, and you're very comfortable with that number, you love your life, you just don't want to work as hard. Look at the cost of sale of $77,000, meaning you're most likely paying a buyer specialist to handle all of that for you. You can take that away and handle this yourself. And you can put that $77,000 to the bottom line, and all of a sudden, we're now at $250,000 net income.
Trying to get a part-time showing assistant and still get out of the car and net a lot more money.
So if you were trying to build a fortress, if you will, around $350,000 of GCI in that range, you could net a lot more money than what we're showing here.
When we just did the back of the envelope math, they could easily get top 200,000. They could have 57% margins if they were not focused on getting to the next level.
That's exactly right. Then you go to 700 to a million GCI, and people are shocked when they see this. They go, hold it just a second. I only made $40,000 net more on $300,000 more of income? What's going on?
Well, they're stepping out of the listing business. And so leveraging that out, which is how you get to the far right-hand side, right? How you get out of having a job and owning a business, that's a very costly move.
Okay, so that's exactly right. So what happens is that anywhere from around 600,000 to 700,000 in income, the people that we study invariably have now decided to go for it, right? They want to get out of a job. So one of the things that happens is between 700,000 and a million, the reason why the income stays relatively the same is because they no longer have a job.
You're building up infrastructure for the next move too, right? So your expenses, a large portion of that are going to be your salaries. It's going to be admin staff, marketing people, getting ready for that next push, what's going to get you to the next level.
So look what happens up here, and that is with $700,000 more in income, the net income jumps dramatically at that point, right? Even on the average basis, right?
And we used to call that the messy middle until you kind of educate it. It's like, oh, that's just the valley that everyone goes through. In your experience, there may be another valley that's beyond 3 million in GCI.
Yeah.
And it's beyond 10 million in GCI, that whenever you have to make big investments in the transformative nature, you're going to move backwards to move forwards.
So here's the decision you have to make. The reason why we want you to see these numbers is you need to decide where you don't need to be constantly underpaying yourself. If you have no desire to get past, let's say, 300,000 of personal income, which by the way is a truckload of money, right? It's a truckload of money. If you had $300,000 coming in and year out, if you decided you wanted to build a wall around that as a salesperson, then you can ignore all of this, right, fellas? Because this is all about reinvestment. That's what's driving these nets down low, is the reinvestment in people, in education, and in systems. If you don't have to do that, if you don't need the money, you don't want the money, then it's very instructive, because otherwise you'll start spending money you don't need to spend, going to a place you don't want to go to, and never actually netting the amount of money that you deserve, right? I don't think I can repeat that again. I think I said that well. I'm going to sail off into the sunset with that.
We'll get the recording and transcribe that for you.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, now listen, I've lived my life over on the far right. So I've been very clear that whenever I got a dollar, instead of upgrading my lifestyle, I upgraded talent. I upgraded systems. And I just reinvested. And that actually, honestly, there is a period of time where even I've shared this story with you, where I even got frustrated. I was frustrated to the point where I was willing, well, I won't even go into it, but I was willing to sell stock in the company for what today would be a joke, right? Would be an absolute travesty. But I was willing to do it because I was so tired. I was tired, guys. Okay, that's a tough battle. If you want it, go for it. I don't regret it.
But you're laying a foundation. What you did is you laid a foundation for something huge to grow on.
Yeah, and I helped, and I was getting the results. It wasn't that I wasn't getting. It wasn't the money wasn't there. The money was there, but it didn't show up on. If you'd called me and asked for my tax return here, it would never have shown up because I took the money and used it just in a discretionary way to reinvest. And look at where the expense is going. What's the biggest line item out there, man? Singular is cost of sale. Down below those expenses, the biggest one there is salaries. It's all in people. It's all in people. So the trick is, if you don't master hiring people, getting in business with the right people, you'll never get over there.
Well, this is where
it's a waste of money.
CV is huge. We have 15% of our total cost going to lead gen. And we have 5 times as much money invested in people through salaries and cost of sale. And we're not putting 5 times as much training into that discipline.
So this is a fun thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did, see, I told you we can do this fast. I don't want to bore you, right? So this is the opportunity that's bigger than you think. So there was a study done on the 212 biggest industries in the United States, and the average margin of their business was what, Jay?
7.5%, Gary.
Here's the margin, 7.5%. So you go over and you start looking at these margins, and what's your aha?
Industry.
The opportunity is huge in this industry. It's kind of unprecedented, actually. We found only one industry in that whole study that had a 0.5% higher margin than the averages for us, not even the optimum.
Yeah.
It's just unprecedented.
What was Walmart's?
3.5%.
Now, here's the thing is, you need to realize is that somewhere around probably 400,000 and up, this becomes business income, not job income. So be very careful. The second that you cross that line between 350 to 700 and above, we get to start comparing that to all other businesses, right? What's the average, like, franchise? What was the statistic on that? What the average franchise in America made across industries?
Do you remember that?
I don't remember the number, but I remember feeling like it was around 5% or thereabouts.
No, what was the income, not the
Oh,
percent.
the income.
70, 80,000.
Yeah, between like 40 and 60,000, I think was the average.
Yeah, I remember the number 60,000 being the top end of what franchises. So when you drive by all of these Americanized franchised businesses that you can drive through, walk in, and buy stuff, you need to realize something. They're only making, on average, about $60,000 a year.
And how much do they have to invest to get 60,000?
It's $500,000.
$150,000, $300,000 for like a subway.
It's $250,000 with a minimum net worth of going. Yeah, exactly. So we just want to put this in perspective for you real quick and realize that the opportunity to be a real estate agent and turn that job, and what's happening is that around 350 to 400,000, it's no longer a job, is it?
Yeah, you're in a business. You are investing in people to serve your business, and you're investing in ways to find new business.
Okay, so here's an aha, and that is, if you want real estate sales to be a job where you don't have to hire anybody, you just go out and it's a job for you. Depending upon your average sales price and the commission that you're able to get off of that, it probably has a top net income of probably $200,000, maybe $250,000 for most people, right?
For most people.
For jobs, if it's job income. You need to realize the second you shift over here past about $350,000 or $400,000, that's not job income anymore. That, by the way, is business income. And what we want you to understand is it's a better business opportunity than you're going to get in almost compared to literally any industry on the planet. And that's the business you got into. Okay?
We weren't manipulating the stats. What's the
We're not lying, we're not manipulating.
There's lies, and then statistics. But then this, I was surprised. I was like, wow. I mean, I thought that there would be much higher margins, like in sandwich shops and some of these things, like pizzerias and cleaners. I've always heard those are cash machines, and they don't even compare.
No. And that was the other side that got me excited about real estate. I have a degree in real estate. I got in and started selling real estate, and I'm thinking, wow, it's a job. And then my eyes opened up, and I went, no, it doesn't have to just be a job. This could actually be a business. I have gotten a degree in a business opportunity, not just a job. And wow, it expanded my thinking dramatically, right? All right, anything we didn't cover, you want to cover?
I think the only thing I was just that
Thanks,
I had. Oh, there we go. I think people look at cost of sales, and if they paid that in salary, it would be so much tougher on it. And my big aha, and I was talking to Tony about this, is when people look at their cost of sales, because it's not coming out of their pocket, it's just not going into it, they don't treat it as seriously. And that was a big aha for me. It's like
They're willing to negotiate it away faster.
right. But
It's money I don't have,
tougher on
but
that.
I'll give you larger pieces of that.
Exactly. That was my big aha from
Great insight. All right, fellas, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Garrett, thank you. So it's fun. Garrett got on our team because his dad and I went to high school together, and we were were roommates in college, and he called me up and he said, hey, my son is thinking of moving to Austin. He's a musician, and he said, could you help him? So I got on